right now on 5 on your side at 10.
Area firefighters battling flames and the bitter cold.
Everything at the scene is covered in ice.
Tonight, they're concerned the frigid weather will spark more fires.
Well, the best we could do for a high today, 2 degrees. In some spots, didn't even make it above 0. Where that stands record-wise for today overall, and what we'll see for the rest of the week.
Plus, warming up. The winter blast not keeping Cardinals fans from coming face-to-face with their favorite boys of summer.
We start tonight in a weather alert as most of the St. Louis region remains under a wind chill warning. Good evening, I'm Mike Bush. It's dangerously cold outside. Temperatures barely got above 0 today, and they're going to fall back below overnight. Let's get straight over to meteorologist Gary Frank with our frigid forecast.
Very, very cold. One of those things where we got to think about turning the faucets on, checking on friends and neighbors, pets, things of that nature. It's that type of cold. We run through it once in a while, but what are we expecting over the next few hours? Right now, you'll still see that light dusting of snow that we had yesterday. We've got probably another one on the way later on. Overall, though, our coldest high temperatures, we actually got up to 3 well after sunset. Not that we saw much of it. So it did notch up to 3 at a very brief moment. It was still the coldest high temperature we've ever seen on January 14th. Keep in mind, our average high is 40 degrees. Right now, we have gone back down at no surprise. There are still some spots like St. Charles at 3, but 0 in O'Fallon. It could be worse. You could be in Kirksville or Kansas City or Des Moines or Moline, where you're at 15 below. And that cold air's around, but it's that cold air coupled with just a little bit of a light wind has us under a wind chill warning and a wind chill advisory. The differences are how cold it gets. Right now, there are some spots to the north where it feels like it's 15 to 20 below, others 10 to 15 below. That's really the threshold, which we'll discuss here shortly. Hour by hour, heading into the overnight hours, we'll see a mix of clouds, but temps are falling at 5 below or so. Still very cold Monday and Tuesday with a little more snow, and it's sort of milder. Just sort of. We'll talk about that and also the records that we still may set over the next couple of days.
And you can stay up to date on our latest Weather First forecast. Just text the word weather to 314-425-5355 and we'll send it to your phone. Right now, St. Louis County Police are looking for a man who shot and killed a woman at a Jennings liquor store. This happened around 6 tonight at New York Market and Liquor on Jennings Station Road. Police say the victim and a man got into a fight inside the store when he shot her. She was taken to a nearby hospital where she later died. The man ran off, but anyone with information is asked to call Crime Stoppers, the anonymous tip line. That's 866-371-TIPS. Tonight, 3 people are recovering and 1 person is in custody after violence on a Metrolink train. Police responded to the Sunnan Metrolink station in Maplewood around 12:30 this afternoon. That's where officers found 1 person shot, another stabbed, and a 3rd person who had been cut. The victims are taken to the hospital. They are expected to recover. Police believe a fight led to the assaults. This incident caused delays at the Shrewsbury and Brentwood stations. All trains are running normally now. Tonight, a man and a family dog are safe after their Eureka home caught fire this afternoon. It was a very tough fire to fight for first responders due to the extreme cold and the terrain of the area. 5 on your side's Laura Barczewski takes us into the hills where they battled the blaze.
Just after 3 o'clock Sunday, Eureka Fire Department, along with several other departments, responded to a large house fire off of Tall Oaks Drive.
Upon arrival, the first in unit, they had fire through the roof. There's heavy damage to the house at this point.
It took 25 different trucks and other apparatus, along with roughly 75 firefighters and EMTs, to put this fire out over several hours. Eureka Assistant Chief Scott Barthelmess says it was difficult for several reasons.
First off, we had heavy fire load conditions there. Second reason is it's cold and it's very hard on our personnel as they operate, so we need additional personnel. And then the third thing is we're in a no water area, so all the water we're using is having to be shuttled in.
2 firefighters were injured in the process but got checked out and are doing okay now.
There's a lot of slip hazards and stuff like that. We've had several firefighters slip on the scene already. We do bring in the canteen, the St. Louis STL canteen that comes, first responder canteen that comes in and starts providing some nourishment. We use ambulances to put personnel in to warm them up.
They said only 1 person was home at the time with the family dog.
Animal control is here to help the animals so that they can get them somewhere for the evening as well, so that the animal doesn't suffer. But the animal's okay and the resident is okay.
Barthelmess says the house is heavily damaged, and while they don't know what started the fire, they want people to be very careful when it's this cold.
Make sure that you're using safe heating means that if you're using a fireplace that's been inspected, all those safety. Those fire safety things are right now are key.
Reporting in Eureka, Laura Barcheski, 5 on your side.
It's also been a tough and busy day for St. Louis firefighters. They battled several vacant home fires in the frigid conditions like this one on Minnesota Avenue in South City. A fire captain there told our crew he expected more fires to come during this cold spell, and he was right. Another fire broke out hours later in North City. This time it was at a vacant home on Whittier and Cote Brilliant. No injuries were reported and no cause was given for either fire. As crews battle fires in frigid conditions, they want folks at home to know how to stay safe this winter. The National Fire Protection Association says home fires happen more in winter than any other season. A lot of it is because of space heaters at home, but those can turn deadly if they're left unchecked. Heating equipment is involved in 1 of every 6 reported home fires and 1 in every 5 home fire deaths.
Take a jacket off, we go to throw it, and it lands on there, and we forget about it, and that starts fires there. The other things that I need people to understand is that your gas stoves are not for heating.
Here's a few more things fire departments want you to know. If you're using your fireplace, make sure you burn dry wood. Also, keep your pipes warm and sprinkler systems active so they don't freeze up.
It's colder this year than I remember, for sure. But it's the same every year. Great fans, great players that come back.
The bitter cold didn't stop Cardinals fans from meeting their favorite Redbirds past and present. The Cardinals' annual winter warm-up is taking place during the coldest weekend of the winter season. 5 on your side's Annie Krall met up with eager fans ready for baseball and baseball weather.
Fans from near and far have descended on Busch Stadium and Ballpark Village this weekend.
I grew up in Southern Illinois, and that was just our thing. They would listening to Jack Buck on the radio. It was a big event for us to get to come to 1 game a year to travel from Southern Illinois. My dad taught me how to keep score, and I just loved baseball, and it just seems to, my parents aren't here anymore, but it connects me to them in a way.
Laura McCune adding to her jersey of 175 autographs, a piece of memorabilia she started 21 years ago, thanks to
Al Roboski. I was over at his bar across the street when he opened it, and he signed it, and that's when I started getting the signatures on it, and that was in, I think, 2002 or 2003.
Parents now helping the next generation find their favorite Redbird and Cardinals legend, like
Yadier Molina.
Why do you like Yadi so much?
Because I just like the way he plays and how good he is at catching.
Here at Busch Stadium and at Ballpark Village, fans were willing to risk it out here in the cold temperatures to see some of their favorite players. With pitching being so challenging last year with the Cardinals ranking 23rd in MLB, considering their 4.5 average ERA.
Endurance is huge, so there's been a lot of aerobic focus this offseason, conditioning focus, and then just regular, muscular endurance, making sure that I can go out and throw 100 pitches and maintain that velocity.
While I'm not talking about fastballs, some heaters were needed for one of the chilliest warm-ups in recent memory.
I wanted to wear this jacket, layers underneath, so I could take this off and put it in my bag. But to be honest with you, I haven't been able to take it off all day. It's been so cold.
Fans dreaming of warmer days at Busch Stadium. Reporting in St. Louis, Annie Krall, 5 on your side.
We're 81 days from the home opener at Busch. The winter warm-up wraps up tomorrow, and you can buy your admission and autograph session tickets on the Cardinals website.
A trauma surgeon redefining doctor's care.
I want to put myself out of business.
How he's making a difference by healing lives impacted by gun violence. Big changes coming tomorrow for Metro buses. The promise to get riders where they need to go sooner.
Multiple areas of wind chill warnings and wind chill advisories in place through Tuesday by midday. And yes, that does seem to be the stopping point for our cold weather. How cold it gets between now and then, and what we'll see the rest of the week.
Making a Difference is sponsored by Midwest Bank Center.
Now to a story about a local doctor trying to turn tragedy into triumph. As you'll learn in tonight's Making a Difference report, he has developed a one-of-a-kind care model for victims of gun violence in the hope of getting them on the path to healing. Inside Del Mar Divine, home to many of St. Louis's top social service agencies,
Nice big cleansing breaths.
there's an office where a local doctor and his team
Hey, what's going on, man?
weave hope into the fabric of shattered lives.
How's your pain doing today?
This is BRIC, the bullet-related injury clinic, led by a former trauma surgeon from Barnes Jewish Hospital, Dr. L.J. Punch.
I met people in the worst days of their lives as a trauma surgeon working in a trauma center. And I was just drawn to what it meant to be able to stand there with somebody and help them get through those really awful moments.
So we would stop bleeding by applying pressure.
We first met Dr. Punch when he helped launch the Stop the Bleed program in St. Louis. It teaches life-saving techniques that anybody can learn.
That program grew into a nonprofit in 2018 and taught 10,000 people in the region how to stop the bleed. Massage into the muscle.
That was the beginning of a transition for Dr. Punch. He left his role as a trauma surgeon to start BRIC.
It's coconut oil based.
Because he knows when it comes to gun violence, care has to be redefined.
I think that term doesn't get, though, at the ways in which bullets impact patients and their families, people who are physically injured and people who are simply threatened by a bullet. There are machines that do point of care testing.
So Dr. Punch and his team are rewriting the prescription.
So the first thing, people come in, they don't have to sign a bunch of papers, they don't have to prove a bunch of stuff with their insurance because our care is free.
I'm taking off running and I lost all feeling in my legs and it completely went numb.
You literally have scars to show it.
Craig Collins was living on the streets when he was shot. Now a newlywed with a good job, he says BRIC offered a safe space that was judgment-free.
This was the first place where he experienced love. This was the first place that gave him hope when he had none.
Your spirit still has to be tended to.
BRIC isn't just a clinic, it's a haven of support.
He gave me a lot of resources as far as therapy, counseling, and referrals to places to deal with my trauma, but I also I vented a lot. See, when you vent out your problems, you face your trauma.
When you take a deep breath.
As the executive director of the only bullet-related injury clinic in the country, Dr. Punch travels around the country presenting his model of care.
There you go.
But his goal is to actually close up shop.
You can drop it down, melt away. I want to put myself out of business. I want to make it so we don't need a BRIC. There's no study.
And 2023 was a start. With homicides down, BRIC saw a 25% decrease in referrals. But clinic visits were up.
And that's exactly what we want to see. Now, this is a little bit of a different process.
In a community shadowed by gun violence, Dr. L.J. Punch emerges as an architect of recovery.
Dr. Punch is an extraordinary man.
If we gave you a scale on your eating, sleeping, moving, and thinking,
helping the bullet-related injury clinic construct bridges to healing and renewal.
It shows me that you don't have trauma anymore.
For those who need it, BRIC, which is funded by grants and donations, also provides food and transportation for its patients. A reminder, if you know a person making a difference for others, let me know by email at mbush@ksdk.com. Tomorrow is Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day, but some celebrate it early. Local faith, civil rights, and labor leaders came together in North St. Louis today to recreate the Lincoln Memorial Rally of 1963. It was the finale to Dr. King's March on Washington. The event at the Christ Pilgrim Rest Missionary Baptist Church was filled with singing and ministry. It also honored those who work to further social justice in the area. The Missouri History Museum held some more events this weekend to celebrate Dr. King's life and legacy. Those included gospel music, poetry readings, and more. Historians there say these events help people understand MLK's life and contributions to activism in the U.S.
So we're not just celebrating Dr. King, the man, the myth, and the legend. We're celebrating Dr. King, the real person who struggled with how to approach activism and how to approach seeking freedom and justice.
Tomorrow, the museum is hosting events all day to celebrate the holiday. For more information about Dr. Martin Luther King's life and legacy, just text MLK to 314-425-5355 and we'll send you a link. Meteorologist Gary Frank rejoins us now with that weather first forecast. And Gary, everybody wondering when will there be a warm up?
Oh my goodness. I'll tell you what, when we get to the mid 30s by Wednesday, it's going to feel like 85. At least that's
right.
In my mind is going to feel that way. And we haven't had that, right? Because a lot of these days, I recall growing up, anytime we'd start to warm up and it's 40, I dress like you wear shorts and it just feel great. It's been so warm over the last few winters that we really haven't had that on a consistent basis. But right now, just look at the light breeze at the moment. And overall, I still think that you're going to continue to look at some pretty cold temperatures. As we've started off between 5 and 10 below, we started off at 7 below this morning in St. Louis, 12 below at Pittsfield, many cold temps. I know your house thermometer probably showed that between 10 and 15 below. Wasn't a record. 1881. Keep in mind, records have been kept since 1874. So we tied our second place. You know, today's high of 3 degrees was the coldest high temperature on this date. We talked about that a few minutes ago. But 5 below in 1983 is the coldest high temperature we've ever had. But there's only been 18 times that we've had colder highs than we had today. So they're pretty impressive. That just kind of shows you how cold it's been. You add a little bit of wind, that's when you see a wind chill warning and a wind chill advisory. Kind of breaking down the two. It just depends on how cold these areas are going to get and how much wind is picked up a little bit. So overall, as we look downtown, temperature's still on the cold side. So cold it's not showing up, but it's about 2 degrees and it feels like it's between 15 to 20 in many spots. We'll continue to see this over the next few hours. Just a little bit of a light breeze here into the overnight hours. By 4 a.m., if you got to get up, go to work at all, I mean, 4 feels like 20 below, you'll see that light breeze continue. And watch how this continues tomorrow as well. I think overall, we're going to watch just a little bit of light wind. As we start off very cold at 6 below, we'll try to warm up quickly, but we'll get at least into the double digits with a northwest breeze at around 10 to 15 miles an hour. Overall, that's that minor disturbance, which has created a lot of issues to the south, avoids us. We'll get one of these little minor disturbances coming off the Rockies into the plains. That gives us an opportunity for a few light snow showers as temperatures stay around 10 degrees, and we'll see that impact us tomorrow evening. So be prepared for a few light areas of snow. I'm not really concerned about major accumulation. This is 1/10 of an inch, a dusting as we often call it. However, on the other day, that did cause some issues with the temperatures. Keep that in mind. By Tuesday afternoon, I'm optimistic our wind chills start to go above 0, and that at least puts us in the right direction. 10 tomorrow, 17 will feel like it's below 0 until the afternoon, and then 37. Like I said, it feels like 85. It's a mindset at this point. Light snow, another light cold burst, but then beyond that, we're back in the 30s and 40s.
We're on the move, covering all things about getting you where you need to go. Some really positive changes coming for those who use Metro buses. Changes aimed at getting riders to their destinations sooner. Starting Monday, Metro Transit has bolstered their Metro bus service on 17 routes. A big part of this involves increased frequency. Metro's Chief Operating Officer Charles Stewart says, with the success of recruitment efforts over the past year, we are now in a position to increase Metro bus service on several routes that had their frequency reduced during the pandemic. Like many businesses and other transit agencies across the country, Metro has been challenged with a workforce shortage since the beginning of 2020. Stewart adds, as we continue recruitment throughout the year, we look forward to more opportunities to improve service as we continue to strengthen our workforce. So, what does this mean for you if you're a rider or considering trying Metro Bus in the future? The most simple explanation is that this is all addition of routes, not subtraction. So there shouldn't be any cancellation surprises. Some of the bus routes with increased frequency include the number 10 Graveway Lindell stop, number 35 Rock Road, and the number 4 Natural Bridge bus stops. You can see a complete list of the routes at KSDK.com or on the Metro Transit website. Good luck. Paul Cook, 5 on your side.
GOP hopefuls battle the cold to battle for votes. Their final message to Iowans on caucus eve.
The Iowa caucuses start tomorrow night, the first contest in the Republican presidential primary season. Despite the bitter cold, candidates are out in full force this weekend for some last-minute campaigning. They're hoping the cold and snow won't stop voters from caucusing. Iowa could make or break a campaign. The latest poll, though, shows former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley getting a big bump over Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, but both are still nearly 30 points behind former President Donald Trump.
The delegation in Iowa, they fight for you. They really, really fight for you, and they work hard, and I have such a respect for them.
And you're willing to fight for me on Monday night, then as president, I'll be fighting for you for the next 8 years.
So brave the weather and go out and save America, because that's what you're doing. This is really about saving our country.
Forecasters say this will be the coldest Iowa caucus on record, with strong winds and negative temperatures. Nikki Haley canceled an event today due to the hazardous weather. DeSantis stuck to his schedule despite the snow. Our political editor, Mark Maxwell, will report live from a caucus site in Keokuk, Iowa. You can look for his live reports tomorrow night on 5 on Your Side at 6 and 10. And we'll have a final look at the weather after the break. And before we go, here's Gary with one final check of the big chill.
Yeah, it's just very cold, obviously. We're working our way back below zero. Not quite there in many cases, but just a little bit of light wind. I want to prepare you for tomorrow, about 6 or 7 o'clock tomorrow. 15 to 20 below. Some of these numbers even lower than that, like Rolla. Not out of the question. This is the very cold air, and I think at least we'll get to double digits tomorrow in some cases, but still check on pets, friends, neighbors. Make sure you drip those faucets overnight if that's something you haven't done, just to make sure here as we get on the back side of this by Wednesday.
And there you have it, a late edition of 5 on Your Side at 10. Don't forget to start your day with Today in St. Louis at 4 a.m. And now here's Frank Cusimano with Sports Plus.